Joining us now is Wyatt Roy and Anthony Albanese. Good morning to you. I'll start with Wyatt first. I'll come to you shortly, Anthony. But I think, Wyatt, here, the operative word here is try, because it's controversial, it's unlikely to get across the line, because people don't want to pay more taxes. So how can you guarantee that people aren't going to pay more taxes?
Well, this is a really important conversation for us to have. It's not going to happen overnight, and we can't do it ourselves. We need the states to be involved with this. But currently, all the incentives in the system are about the states fighting the Commonwealth and this argy-bargy that you see between politicians. And when you have a system that's all structured about us fighting each other, nobody actually gets a better healthcare service delivery out of that. Nobody actually gets a better education when it's all about politicians fighting each other. We've had a long debate for many years about how you do two things. One is how you stop the overlap in terms of the administration of actually running the hospitals and the schools, and another about how you actually fund them. We want that long-term security, and this is a really I think, significant way of achieving that. It is a significant change, but surely just having politicians fight each other and not actually find real solutions, that's not going to fix the country's problems.
Well, if the Prime Minister doesn't get this proposal over the line, how much is he in danger of becoming the PM that can't close a deal?
Well, the important thing is that this isn't going to happen overnight. I think you need to recognise this. I mean, of course, the political system is all designed, for really quick solutions, but this is a big fundamental change for our country. It's about fixing a really big problem, which is the overlap between the state and the territory, and actually giving the states the authority, the security to give us that long-term service delivery that we want. And we should take our time with that. We should actually have this discussion and not devolve ourselves into sort of cheap politics.
All right, Anthony, let's move it over to you. I mean, doesn't this proposal have some merit? Because wouldn't it create some kind of competition between the states?
Well, it's appropriate that it's April Fool's Day that COAG are meeting with this quite absurd proposal that you'd have 9 sets of income taxes around Australia. I mean, one of the things we've struggled with in this country since we went from colonies through federation is to get rid of the duplication, to get rid of ridiculous circumstances like different rail gauges. What they want now is different income tax systems depending upon which state you're from. The idea that that's efficient is absurd. It's absurd. It's as absurd as the idea floated yesterday that we'd now have a complete Commonwealth removal from involvement in funding public education. We'd still fund private education, but not public education. It's absurd. And in terms of going back, we've had a national system of income tax since 1942. There's a reason for that.
Wyatt, how concerned are you that these two big issues, education and health, are being sort of chucked around like a hot potato at the moment? The Prime Minister doesn't want them, and the states don't want them either, because that's going to cost them votes if taxes have to go up.
Well, what's important is that we actually are brave enough to have this conversation. Politicians sitting back and saying these challenges are all there, we all know them, we always have these complicated arguments. We talk about what's an overlap of administration or a complicated system. Currently, there are over 100 different funding agreements between the state and Commonwealth, and we have this ridiculous fight every single time. Now, that's a great system if a politician wants to get their headline out of it, a sort of a sexy headline attacking one another, but that actually doesn't help anybody. And I think that we need a bit of political bravery to actually go out there and say, this isn't going to happen overnight, there's no silver bullet, but there are big problems, we know the challenges, this is a potential solution, and let's have that conversation and let people put ideas on the table.
Well, the big problems are there because of the $80 billion of cuts to education and health. This is a distraction by Malcolm Turnbull, who doesn't want to fix a problem. He just wants to transfer the blame to the states so that he can blame the states.
Hence the hot potato.
For education or health.
The issue here is you guys have announced an enormous amount of spending but no actual funding.
We actually have, as you full well know, all $37 billion is funded. We're the first opposition to never make a promise without saying where the money's coming from.
Funded through increasing taxes or borrowing more money?
All of the money's coming from.
This is the argy-bargy that we're talking about. When the only solution is we'll just raise more taxes, we'll borrow more money, we actually get out of a situation about how we can actually provide the best healthcare, the best education to Australia.
Well, you just brought up healthcare there.
This is actually about funding it.
Let's move on to this proposal may well get through. This is the healthier Medicare that's about to be announced. Do you see any problems in that going through?
No,
at all?
I think this is is a great thing. We know that 1 in 5 Australians have 2 or more chronic illnesses, and we know that half of all the avoidable hospital admissions actually come from people with a chronic healthcare condition. And it's a very complicated system, and this is all about giving people the ability to work through that system and ensure they get the best possible care. And when they do that, we actually remove that burden on the hospital, because in many cases they won't actually have to end up going to that point.
You see a problem here?
Oh, look, we'll look at the detail of the proposal, but I think it's similar to some of the proposals that we had and implemented, indeed, like Medicare Locals, the idea of delivering health care to individuals but on the basis of need. But that doesn't take away from the fact there's been these massive cuts to the healthcare system from the Commonwealth. And today, the states will be demanding that that money be put back. Otherwise, we are going to have a crisis in our public health system.
A COAG meeting on April Fool's Day, is that wise?
Well, it's appropriate for this Prime Minister, who clearly had a plan to beat Tony Abbott but doesn't seem to have a plan to govern. If he doesn't want to lead, he should just get out of the way.
That is all the time that we've got for Wyatt Anthony. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks,
Good to
Matt.
be with you.
Cheers.
Lisa.